Welcome to Soundbreaker. On today's episode, we're talking to Jack McCarthy. Jack, welcome to Soundbreaker. And Jack happened to be the co-founder of IndieX. Jack's, for our listeners who might be familiar with you and who you are, what do you do? If you don't mind, give us a kind of a quick introduction before we dive into it.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me, Bob. Pumped to be here. My name's Jack McCarthy. My name's Jack McCarthy. I am the co-founder of a music marketing agency called IndieX. We help artists maximize their e-commerce revenue through smart, active digital marketing strategies. We've been fortunate enough to work with Grammy-winning artists all the way down to very successful indies, and IndieX is positioned inside of a larger company called Indepreneur, which is a music marketing education company. I'm a creative entrepreneur. I've been a musician and an artist my whole entire life, and it found me in this weird path, ending up in music marketing, working in the music business. We've been in business since 2017, and we've gotten to work with some really amazing artists on some amazing projects over the years. And so I'm pumped to share some stories and hopefully give some insights into the inner workings of what's working for the top of the top artist in music marketing today with you guys.
Oh, exciting. I'm really excited to dive into it because you don't just do marketing, you help independent, you said a key word, you help independent artists and major artists maximize their digital revenue and their presence, which, that's tying to their presence on the World Wide Web because everything is digital out there.
Absolutely.
And as we all know, you know, streaming platforms, it served its time and its purpose, for quite some time. It's been around, and we're thankful of it. Created a new boom, economical, I would say, in the music business. A new economy and new revenue stream, and really created a boom. New opportunities, new jobs, new companies rised up. Everything. Artists find it easier to distribute and create worldwide presence in areas and places in the world that they never thought it existed or they'll be there, and created new fan base. Now we see a shift of all of that. But before we jump into all of this juicy stuff, and what do you do and how do you help them and how technology plays a big part of it, tell us, how did you get where you are? What really influenced you? If we go back to your teenage years, was this from home, mom, dad? Because I see a bunch of guitars back there. So obviously music runs in your blood. You like to play.
It
What
sure
if
does.
even if you collect, you gotta play.
It sure does.
So
It sure does. I've been a musician my whole life. My earliest my earliest influences in music were actually like, man, when I was like 2 or 3 years old, I was listening to Frank Sinatra tapes in the car with my grandpa. And then I was getting into Judas Priest and Motley Crue and Metallica and metal bands. Then I found myself getting into punk music, in the 90s growing up. I played in a lot of pop punk and punk bands. That was really where I cut my teeth here in the suburbs of Philadelphia, being a part of the local music community growing up. I got into recording at a very early age. Recording on a 4-track cassette recorder, a Tascam recorder. Then I got into digital recording and Pro Tools, as that was, you know, something that you could just start to get into with a laptop in
and
my
this is all self-taught, all self-taught.
all self-taught. Yeah, I mean, I
Right.
took guitar lessons and piano lessons as a kid, but I spent a lot of time working as a musician, being in bands, writing songs, recording music. That was kind of my upbringing. And I ended up going to college for music, actually, for music production. So I studied audio production. And did a lot of work in that. And that was kind of the path that took me professionally into music. But I certainly did not expect, if you would have asked me, as a 17 or 18-year old getting ready to go to college, if you would ask me now, if I ever would have thought that I'd find myself in the place that I am today, I would have been like, I don't even know what any of that is.
Amazing. So let's talk about NDX and your marketing strategy, um, company or platform, and how really does it help artists right now in this day of age where artists really want independence, they want empowerment, they want to control their own destiny, they want to make their own money because they feel the current setup, the traditional setup that the path that the whole industry been on for the past 20, 25 years since we transitioned from physical to digital, is no longer serving the times we're in, because
Yeah.
of technologies advancing so fast and so quickly.
Yeah, it's a great question. One of the founding reasons behind IndieX even existing as an agency is we saw an opportunity where e-commerce, the buying and selling of physical merch, whether it be soft goods like t-shirts, hoodies, or still physical media, CDs, vinyl, so on and so forth, really has kind of been uh, the black sheep of revenue streams for a lot of major artists. It's really a revenue stream that was kind of just money being left on the table in an age where streaming revenue is kind of the big focus point, the driver. Touring revenue is the big focus point, the driver for these artists with huge fan bases that are really just eager to be able to hold and touch and experience uh, something tangible from the artists and the musicians, the bands that they love. And e-commerce really became a kind of like a side quest for a lot of artists and their teams. And so we saw a big opportunity to allow artists, to help artists tap into that in a way that, a lot aren't. In fact, like, we do a lot of studies on what's going on kind of at the ground level of the music industry. And we did a study of the Billboard Hot 100 artists not too long back, where we actually signed up for all of their email lists. We audited their websites. We looked at what was going on social media from the outside to really see what's going on with some of these, massively popular artists and these rising artists. What's going on the e-commerce front? What are they doing to communicate with their fans? And the missing pieces were fascinating because we saw, for example, just to take one little stat, of these artists that we studied, we signed up for, like I said, all of the list from all of the Hot 100 artists. We saw during this study period, which lasted about a quarter, that 84% of these artists didn't send a single sales promotion during this 3-month time. And there was a Memorial Day weekend going on during this study period as well. So a big retail holiday where none of these artists were promoting merch or sales at all to their fans. And these are massive, massive artists with huge audiences, with tons of potential to pick up missing revenue that just is, waiting to be capitalized on. And so it's things like that that really we looked at back when we founded IndieX and said there's so much opportunity for artists to take advantage of and their teams to take advantage of, to build a revenue stream that they control. That's not necessarily something that record labels have their hands in the pockets of. That's not necessarily tied to a bunch of third parties if they don't want it to be. And so we built our agency really with the premise of helping artists specifically focus in on e-commerce and digital marketing because of that opportunity.
Hmm. You would think. I wouldn't think that. I thought they pretty much capitalizing on it, really merch. I don't know. This is something that they kept it as a side kind of, like, okay, a little bit of extra money. They weren't focused on it 100% because I would think with their presence and their name and their, popularity, uh, you know, to take advantage of that and really focus also on merch because it's a big thing right now.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
always been.
It's honestly it's shocking still to this day. It was shocking in 2017 when we started the company. It's still shocking in 2025 how underutilized it is.
Well, I mean, all you have to do is just look at sports, and is one of the leading revenue sources for sports is merch.
Yeah.
Massive,
Yeah,
massive.
absolutely, absolutely. I had a conversation with an artist manager of an incredibly popular hip hop group, a massive, massive hip hop group. I won't name them because I don't want to out them. But uh, the artist manager of this massive band, a legacy at this point. And I remember having a conversation with her, and we were talking about e-commerce and merch, and she was like, "Well, we're just not really sure if the fans will want to buy anything." And I was like, thinking to myself, I was like, "You think your 25 million fans around the world aren't going to want to buy anything?" That's crazy. But this is the thought process that exists in a lot of spaces in the music industry.
Yeah, I mean, take the lowest percentage, like Even if 10% buy or 5% of the 25 million
Yeah.
fans, that's a
Yeah.
lot of product that been moved, you know?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Is
that
it,
so that's really
yeah, sorry.
that was really the founding principle of IndieX, and really kind of like our guidepost on what we focus on.
Do you think some of the reasons why a lot of artists leave some of that, left or leave some of that money on the table in merchandise because of the lack of uh, connectivity between them and their fans, because the fans kind of belong to the social media platform, like whatever followers you have in Instagram, whatever followers you have in Facebook, on X or YouTube or TikTok, all of these followers in reality, they belong to the platform. They following you, but they, any day they could be gone, because
Yeah.
in reality, and that kind of created that barricade between fans and artists.
I'm so glad you mentioned that, Bob, because I absolutely believe that. I truly believe that to be the case. And that's something that we're always talking with our clients about, and prospective clients when we're talking and consulting with artists and their teams, is the importance of being able to own your audiences and own your data. To be able to take fans from the social media platforms and get them onto an email marketing list, get them onto a text list, control the store that you sell on so that you have your customer data, so that where your fans are, where they're living, what their addresses are, how to contact them, how often they've bought from you and how much they've spent. Having control and consolidation of that information is so critical to be able to even get started with selling consistently and building up a revenue stream. It's not difficult to do in 2025. There's so many tools to do it, and there's a million and one strategies to get started with. But that is that disconnect, or that break, definitely creates a barrier for a lot of artists to get started.
And even with the streaming platform, you have no access to the streaming or
Oh,
downloads or whatever streaming.
it's a black box. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's another one. So the artist is pretty much is being controlled by outer forces, whether it's
Truly.
social media or streaming, because they have no access to who's their true fans are, and how can I connect with them? How can I market directly to them?
Truly. Yeah.
And do you think you know the technology being here and some of the new platforms that we're gonna see popping up very soon, or formats, is definitely different of consuming music and listening and engaging and creating and sharing and participating. Could that be the future? I mean, we can talk about Sora too. That could be also a platform that might go open to the public, where you can share, create, remix, participate in, and and it'll be the new, I would say, TikTok on steroids.
Yeah. What I always go back to is I compare the business of an artist online to the business of any kind of online brand. Really, anyone that does commerce online, whether it be a clothing company, or someone that sells shoes, or someone that sells hats, or trinkets, or shovels. Uh, there have always been the tools to direct an audience and then a customer base to a place where they can, take you up on an offer that they really think is cool for something that they would love to have, and then you control what happens with the data on the back end. There has always been that. The music industry has really just been slow to adopt, or really, with the gatekeepers in place, allow artists and their teams to adopt for themselves the right kind of infrastructure. But it's always been out there. I mean, the when you think of an online e-commerce platform like Shopify, for example, that powers millions of online businesses, with an artist being able to control their own store, that's just one easy starting point example of how artists have a buffet of tools out there, and they're always changing. Like you said, there's always something new on the horizon. But being positioned in the right direction, being pointed in the right direction to choose the right tools and know how to use them to the benefit of the artist, I think is the missing piece in the music business side of things. When you compare it to, like I said, like a jewelry store online who is controlling their data.
Yes. Um, you know, let's take IndieX, your company, and it's no longer the average or the I would say the typical standard that promotion company. With time, the new promotion platforms or marketing like yours is no longer just that. It's more management. It's more artist care. It's more artist direction and help to monetize. It's no longer just okay. What do you want me to market? And that's it. That's not my job. You give me what. It's more like, hey, let's talk. Let's sit down and get involved and help you grow. What can we? What are you missing on? What really? Why are you not monetizing on this? And why are you missing on certain revenues? And what path are
Absolutely.
you taking? What path are you not taking?
Yeah.
You know.
Yep.
So I noticed the whole concept of marketing. It's totally changed right now. Totally, it's more management, really, management and care and direction for artists.
It's true. Yeah. I mean, so much of our work at IndieX is really like strategic consultation. Of course, we're doing the work. Of course, we're doing the work of writing advertising copy and working on the platforms and creating ads and running campaigns. Writing emails, building all of the tech that surrounds it. But really, at the core of what we do is exactly like you said. It's strategy. It's pointing people in the right direction. It's consulting them on how they should manage their marketing and where the resources should go rather than just button pushing and being order takers and saying, hey, okay, you've got a single, let's promote it. At least that's the position that we take, is we're really invested in helping artists build up this revenue stream that they can control, because it's right there. It's such a massive opportunity that it's almost hilarious.
Hmm. Do you think, in order for artists to have more connectivity with their fans and their followers and create more of a community and secure their rights and destiny, the blockchain would be one of the major untapped solutions?
It's interesting. I think I have an evolving viewpoint about this. If you had asked me a couple years ago, I would have been a little more speculative in saying yes, I think it could. Now with the rapid changes in how AI has disrupted the world, I'm actually not really sure where blockchain and AI and commerce are going to intersect. I I imagine I imagine they will. I have no clarity. I have way less clarity than I thought I had 2 years ago. If you had asked me 2 years ago, I would have been like, "Oh yeah, definitely. It's just a matter of when, and it's probably going to look like this." Now I'm like, well, yeah, it probably will, but I'm pretty fuzzy on what it will look like. I really don't know, but yes, I do think so.
Great. I'm glad you do, because the future is here, and this is the future, I would say, but that's another topic. Um, I mean, what's your opinion on artists right now wanting become, and you work with a lot of major artists, wanting to be more and more independent and to work with such services like yourself who can provide that strategic, I would say, strategic partnerships and strategic, direction.
Yeah.
Uh,
I'm so encouraging of artists that are trying to maintain more control in their careers, um, because we're at a place in the industry where labels are record labels are really working and signing artists that have something going on for themselves already. They're not building artist or building demand in the same way that
Used to be.
classically speaking, a label would. So then,
So that discovery thing is no longer exist.
yeah, the discovery just isn't there. And then, so in my opinion, what that leads to is for the artists that already have a base built for themselves of fans and customers and people who really love what they're doing, and maybe they've got a small team, whether it be a manager or a band that they're working with that is kind of contributing in different areas of the business. A record label kind of becomes a bit less important, to put it generously or charitably, and it artists have a way bigger opportunity to remain independent and stay in control of the revenue streams and not sign bad deals. So I'm a big proponent for sure. And not even for selfish reasons, because we work with plenty of labels with their artists. We have plenty of label teams that we work with, and they're great and they do a good job and they do what it is that they're doing. And then we work with plenty of indies, both people who have never signed a record deal and people who, previously were signed and then ended up going off on their own, or, being successful enough that they've just built their own business infrastructure around their brand. And that's kind of like the gold standard in my opinion. But I'm a huge proponent of artists trying to take as much control of their business and their career as they can, because it's been so long where artists have just been stripped of that seeing the pendulum swing in the opposite direction is like a big thumbs up for me.
Hmm. I'm surprised. You should tie in distribution to your infrastructure. You know,
Distribution is a big digital distribution is a big part of it for sure. We have I mean tons of friends and colleagues connected in different distribution companies. um, it's interesting to see how that's always changing as well. Rapidly evolving space.
yes, it absolutely is. And how do you, with the race of AI and all the some of the negative, rumors that get spread, and a lot of a lot of people in the industry, they in a way just follow it without having their own, real opinion on it. Which is I do. I have my own opinion on it. To me, AI and generative AI is a great tool to add more creativity. As we advance, creativity become more advanced, and it's a very simple thing. Sure, you can make a bunch of music creatively, not created by you, but if you have AI helping you as a music artist or writer or producer or whatever you do in the industry, and it helps you to become more creative and to get to your goal much faster and easier, why not? That's what
I
technology is for.
Absolutely, I'm a huge proponent. Actually, I was just having a conversation before you and I hopped on this podcast here about exactly this. I'm a big I'm a big proponent of encouraging artists to find ways to look at AI like a creative playground right now in all sorts of ways, whether it be using AI to help you come up with catchy hooks for your social media posts or captions for your posts on Instagram, to helping you draft email marketing campaigns. This is all the marketing realm that I live and think in. But then going as far as, thinking about how music AI tools might play into your workflow. For example, I was just talking with our operations manager here at Indepreneur yesterday about how he's using Sora for creating samples and loops for a lot of the DJ production work that he does, which is really interesting. Yeah, it's really interesting. It's very interesting. It's thinking about ways that you can start to play with these tools in your toolkit for what they are. I think that that's how artists will stay ahead. As like AI continues to become more and more integrated into all of our day-to-day lives, not just in the music industry, just around the world.
Well said. I like that. I really do. Um, do you think the industry is focused, more on, and that's one of the reasons why technologically is always behind. They focus more on, the creative side, creativity, and they kind of neglect the driving power, which is technology. It's always needed. Uh, Stay out of the innovation part of technology and advancement, and they leave it for somebody else. And that's what really kept the music business always trailing instead of being ahead.
I think you said it well when you said always left to somebody else. I think if there's one business constraint that exists so prevalently in the music industry, it's that management of certain work gets handed down, like, oh, we want to sell on an online store. Okay, we're going to hire a consultant to hire a consultant to hire a consultant who's going to help build the online store. And we're going to license the merch designs out to this department. And this exists in so many different sectors in an artist's career, let alone all the other spaces in the music industry, that the passing of the buck when it comes to taking responsibility over certain uh, technological discovery, when that happens and it just keeps getting distributed further and further down, creating more and more middlemen, it makes it hard to stay on top of anything. It makes it hard to stay on the cutting edge.
Yes. And that's why I feel sometimes the music business being led instead of being the leader,
Oh, that's
being
so
led,
well
but
said. Yeah.
yes, by technology company, not to put anything out there down, but it's always on their own terms. The music business never had its own terms, never had an own leadership or innovation, from within. And there's plenty of money
Yeah.
to that's been around the music business, by some of the higher up companies and other companies and management. There is so much money that I never seen anybody took an initiative say, hey, we're going to focus on pretty much advancing the music business technologically.
Yeah.
And it's always a new technology that comes in from the outside, and when it comes in, it's pretty much rules this whole creative industry, and we become like kind of magnetized towards it, and they control, and the cards in their hand, what to put, what not to put, and how. I'm like, where did that came from? You were in the business for 10, 20, 30 years, and somebody with a tool comes in who got nothing to do with the music business, just an idea, which is great. We need that type of innovation, but it comes in from the outside and pretty much becomes the player, and everybody goes to that player, and then it's on their own terms. I'm like, why the industry never innovated itself from within? Why do we always have to depend on the outside? And then why are we being led? Why the music is being controlled?
Yeah.
The
It's
business,
yeah, it's true. It's definitely true.
and it's something frustrating. I've been watching it and seeing it, and I'm like, nobody invested money. There's so much money been around. They could spare hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars of having their own team of developers and to look into the future. What's next? What can we create? How can we protect the business? How can we advance it? And if you notice, always the video gaming industry is way ahead.
It's true. Yeah,
Yeah,
the video game industry is way ahead. And it's also really interesting that when it comes to tools that are being created in music or technology that's being created in music or for music, so often it gets beaten out by the tools that are just created generally to be the best at what they do. For example, you might find a platform that is uh, being promoted and marketed to be like the number one music industry online store builder. But is that ever going to really beat Shopify? You know, a massive, amazing tool that's been created specifically for uh, online businesses, period? The answer is no. And I feel like a lot of emphasis in music tech gets focused on trying to build, you know, this was built especially for musicians instead of just trying to build something great.
absolutely. Well said. Definitely, definitely, definitely. It's funny. There's so many tools I see coming out for people within the music, but nobody came out with any tool that how artists can make money. Nobody thought is like, okay, instead of trying to milk the artist and charge more fees, because everything coming out with is subscriptions, and
Sure.
just to not to how to make money. No, oh, if you want this kind of service, pay for this. And I'm like, why nobody thought of how to make money? Like, why does it have to be somebody way from the outside create something? Why had it be from inside? How can artists make money? We in the business. How can we save our business? What can we come out with a way, think and come out with a way that independent artists and major artists make money? Streaming is good, but it's not enough anymore. So what can we create something new?
Yeah, it's really interesting. I think sometimes the most creative ideas when it comes to revenue streams start from the ground up with the artist. You see artists like La Russell, for example, who created a whole ecosystem with his fans where he was doing these house concerts that fans were bidding on. It was an offer based system where if someone wanted a ticket to these shows, they would say what they were willing to pay, and then it would go basically into a bidding war for people to be able to come to these concerts. And that's the kind of amazing innovation that I think happens at the artist level first, when they take the creativity that they have within themselves to make art, and they apply it to their business and they apply it to their marketing. And that's something that I'm always waving the flag for, is like, artists have such a unique, unfair advantage compared to other businesses in that they're so creative, and all they have to do is harness that creativity and channel it into the other areas that they can leverage in their career, and they will see massive gains from it.
You work with a lot of artists. What is the most frustrating things that artists uh, open up to you about in the music business, and they wish certain things to be changed?
Oh, that's a great question. I think one thing that I hear very often from artists is they feel like they're pulled in a lot of directions. They feel like they're being told conflicting advice. They have a lot of people in their ear saying different things. And that's really challenging for artists. It's really challenging when you have a whole bunch of people that should be looking out for your best interest and they're not. And you find out too late that they're not. And that is something that I think a lot of artists struggle with. And that's something that not only do I hear artists say explicitly, but I experience them expressing over time as their career sort of unfolds and goes down different pathways, that they start to see it happening and their eyes are kind of open to it. And it's a shame. It's a real challenge. I feel for a lot of the artists that I work with in some of the situations that they've found themselves in, or the partners that ended up, not being a good fit for them to be really in relationship with in a business sense. It's really that's a big struggle that I hear a lot of artists talk about.
Jack, can you talk about some of the artists that some of the successful artists that you've been working with,
Yeah, yeah,
or mention
yeah,
names? Yeah, please give us
yeah,
some of
yeah.
the do some name dropping, please.
Sure, sure. We've been really blessed at IndieX to be able to work with a ton of great artists. Just to name a few, we've gotten to work with folks like Baby No Money on a lot of his releases over the years and his marketing. We've worked with folks like Brandy and Jill Scott and The Roots. We're working with Megadeth currently, which is a lot of fun. Just to name a few people, we've worked with John Schneider, who is a country artist and well known from the Dukes of Hazzard and Smallville. Uh, these are just a few people that come to mind. But we've gotten to do some really cool stuff with these artists and people like them and their teams. Really, really tight knit groups of people. So it's been very fun. We've worked with bands like Avatar in a lot of their marketing that they've done on their recent releases over the last couple years. There's been a ton of really great, uh, really great bands that have and artists that have come to the table to work specifically in the direct to fan sort of e-commerce realm, seeing the opportunity there. So it's really fun when we get to do that kind of stuff.
Amazing. What advice you would have, Jack, for independent artists who's starting out, and they kind of, as you said, being pulled in different directions and different services and different money grabbing from a lot of these services out there. And yes, it is kind of very confusing. What advice you would have for any upcoming starting artist direction? Obviously, I would say, hey, go to IndieX. They can definitely strategize the whole plan for you.
What I would always recommend to an artist that's starting out, especially as you're starting to build an audience, right, is find ways that you can control that audience. Find ways that you can own the list that you're building up, so that you've got a way that if Instagram went away tomorrow, you'd have a way to contact your fans and your customers. If TikTok went away tomorrow, you'd want to be able to know, I can still send out a text message to my fans. I can still email my fans. I've got a store with products on it that I can sell. If Spotify just decided to go out of business tomorrow, I would have ways that I could, one, communicate with my fan base, and two, make them offers so that I would have some money coming in. Those are the two big things that I would recommend to any artist starting out, to, at the very least, keep in your mind. before all of the other chatter from the music industry starts to come in. If you can make those two things some of your North Star principles, I think they're really good strategic positions to come from.
Interesting. And what's next for you, Jack, and for IndieX?
Well,
What's up in the horizon?
well, at the time that we're recording this, Black Friday is not far away, and that is a big puzzle piece for all of our clients across the whole roster at IndieX. Obviously, it's a huge sales period for online business, so that's kind of the big focus for right now. We're focusing a lot on Black Friday sales for our clients, strategizing, building, getting ready, trying to help people have the biggest Black Friday sale that they can. And then really just looking forward into 2026, looking to work with more artists that want to get off the revenue roller coaster of, make a lot of money at a launch, make a lot of money at a tour, and then you see dipping in between. We like to help artists smooth out those revenue curves by consistently making offers to their fans, by building consistent selling systems in their e-commerce. That's really, what we're looking forward to on the horizon. It's kind of what we're always looking forward to. It's really just our constant focus. It's really the prize that we keep our eyes on. So that's what we're looking forward to into the near future here with Black Friday, and really going into 2026. That's what we're continuing to be excited about.
Amazing, really, really amazing. Would you be able to disclose how many artists you guys work with, or no? If not, it's
Absolutely.
okay.
Yeah, absolutely. We keep it pretty small. We work with anywhere between 25 and 30 artists in a given month. That's usually around how big our roster is. So definitely not a massive agency in that we're inundated with an artist where we don't know everybody's names. We're pretty well connected. I hate to say that it feels like a family, because that feels like a cliche, but in a lot of ways that really is kind of our relationship with our clients.
That's the idea. You said something that they want to feel like a family.
Yeah.
They want to be able to open up and talk to you. They want to be able. Transparency is one of the biggest things in such a relationship. So, NDX is not just the marketing; it's a management. It's a family.
Yeah.
Where, yes, absolutely great, definitely. Well, listen, I really enjoyed it. Extremely insightful and interesting and intriguing conversation with you, Jack. Jack from IndieX, I want to say thank you very much for taking the time and coming to our podcast show, Soundbreaker, and definitely enjoyed it. And it was a pleasure having you here today.
Yeah. Thanks so much for having me, Bob. I really appreciate it.
My pleasure. And for everybody else, please make sure to follow us and on social, and just stay connected for our next episode. Thank you. If you enjoyed today's episode, make sure to share the Soundbreaker podcast. And if you are joining us on YouTube, please like this video and subscribe to the channel. Until next time.